Hello and welcome to Now to Next, the podcast that takes you on a journey of growth, skills, and career. I'm your host Adnan Sohail, and I always bring thought leaders, industry experts, and inspiring coaches to discuss the latest insights and strategies so that you can be prepared for what's coming next in your professional life. Today I'm having extraordinary guest joining me. Please give a warm welcome to Sohaib Hasan, a Dubai-based career advisor, HR professional. He's a passionate coder and absolute influencer in the world of LinkedIn. He has got closer to 1 million followers on LinkedIn, and he's a top voice on the platform, sharing valuable insights and inspiring millions every day. Welcome, Sohaib.
Thank you very much, Adnan, and it's always a pleasure to be with you and really looking forward for our today's podcast. And I think these questions are really important when it comes in the space of recruitment, human resources, career advisory, and especially for the job seekers and those who are listening us right now. So super excited for the questions that you're going to ask me today. Usually it's me going live for my podcast, for my live broadcast, but I'm just super excited that you have taken time out and coming live with my audience. So let's dive in straight into the questions.
Sohaib is a true advocate of fair hiring practices, and this episode, we will delve deep into the crucial topic of why sensitive and personal information such as date of birth, nationality, religion, gender, and even sexual orientations is asked from job candidates during the application process. We will explore how this practice impacts the hiring process and what steps can be taken to promote a more inclusive and equitable job market.
I have seen that over the period of time, here and there, a lot of job application, they are asking some sensitive data from the candidates, like their gender, their date of birth, their sexual orientation even, as well as their religious preferences. So my question is how we can think that what is really the fair practice and what should not be asked during the job practice. So let me put the first question. What are some examples of personal sensitive data which are often required in the job application forms?
Well, Adnan, if you see it from the perspective of human resources, yes, the job seekers, sometimes they do come across certain fields on the job portal or while submitting the application, and they think like this information should not be asked. All right. Now, employers often request sensitive personal data, including, for example, say about date of birth, marital status, nationality, even religion and gender, for example, while some employers may request this information to comply with, let's say, labor laws or to meet diversity and inclusion targets. So it's very subjective, I would say, but at the same time, it's essential for the job seekers to be cautious about disclosing such information and data when they are submitting online information, when they are submitting the data through some web forms, as it may inadvertently lead to biased hiring decisions. So I think it largely depends on the job seekers as well, that whether or not when you're submitting the application, when you're submitting the data, are you comfortable? So you have to question yourself as well. Now, from the employer side, from the perspective of the company and the organization who are hiring, they might be collecting this information. They might have to do some analysis. They might have to do some, let's say, proactive measures when they are collecting this data. For example, they could say we have diversity in our organization based on these and these analytics. So for that very reason, they are collecting all this information. So I think in a fair practice, it's okay, I would say, to collect this information, but how that is going to be used is a paramount concern.
Right, that's a wonderful answer. So do you think that are there any statistical data or something there where you can show us that such information can impact negatively if the candidates are disclosing sensitive personal data during the job application while they're filling up the forms?
Well, Adnan, again, I would say like this is very subjective, but negatively impacting. For example, when you are consider it from the perspective of the job seekers, for example, when you are revealing such kind of information about your marital status, about your nationality, about disclosing your salary information, and then you have made a promise with your employer as well. You have signed an NDA that you are not going to reveal this information. So I think you yourself are in the hot seat as well while disclosing this information. So whether it will impact you negatively, whether it will remain neutral, or does it harm in any way, I think it's very subjective. So to answer this question, I think the job seeker, they really need to think whether or not to reveal this information. But at the same time, when they go on the job portals, they come across, okay, the nationality field is mandatory. Well, it's okay, go ahead and fill it. And even if you are a little bit concerned, go ahead and read the data privacy, go ahead and read the terms and condition why the employer or that job portal is collecting this kind and type of information.
Do you think that if a candidate is not filling up this information, is it going to lessen his chances of being recruited, or his application is not going to be shortlisted? For example, if he intentionally doesn't want to put information about what is his gender or what is his religion. I have personally seen so many portals here in UAE which we are using. They ask about even the religion of a person, which doesn't make sense for me as a career advisor. Why someone has to disclose what is their religion when they are looking for any job?
Well, Adnan, the first thing you have to make sure is that if the field is optional, if it's optional, you have the right to let it go. Don't put any information, all right? But if it's mandatory, just fill it up. It's okay. Just fill it up. It's okay. I mean, if you're really concerned about revealing such information about nationality, about gender, about salary, and if the field is mandatory, that you have to put the information, otherwise you will not be able to submit the form. So what you're going to do, either you can submit the information, you can create the profile, or on the other side, you can just not submit the application or the form. So if you are submitting the application and the fields are mandatory, go ahead and read the data privacy policies. When you are creating the account or submitting the application, go ahead and read the terms and condition. They must have explained there why they are collecting this information. Now, the typical and understanding from the job seeker perspective is like this kind of information is discriminatory or might lead to bias. It's okay to think like this, but I think the digital era we are living in right now, people are sharing their personal lives, people are sharing their personal stories, people are sharing their personal lifestyles. What about that? I mean, I always question all these people. Is like, you are so concerned about submitting this information when it comes to the job applications, but on the other side, when you go to people's Instagram or their Facebook profiles, they are publicly sharing all other information which is really, really personal to their personal life, but still you are sharing it with the public. Okay, so I think we need to also adapt to the changes as well in this digital landscape. And again, to re-emphasize, if you're really concerned about the information that you are revealing to the employer or while submitting the job application form, go ahead and read the data privacy and the terms and condition, and it will be stated there and you'll be clear.
Quick question, as you mentioned about the bias also. So do you think that if the candidate is going to reveal, for example, if someone is age of 40 or 42 and his age or his particular nationality from which he's coming from, can it lead to biases? How it can lead if it is yes?
Well, again, Adnan, there are two perspectives. One perspective is from the career advisor side, where I have the expertise, but also if I just look at from the HR professional side, human resources and the recruitment side, employers might request this kind of information for statistical purposes, as I mentioned earlier as well, to comply with diversity and inclusion initiatives which they might have set forth for their organization, or just to ensure, like, for example, they meet certain legal requirements. For example, in the UAE, the companies need to have a certain number of Emiratis hired, which I think is absolutely phenomenal. And you should be asking, in my personal opinion, you may ask within the job application is like, what is your nationality or where do you come from? So when you are actually recruiting or filtering the job application, you only go for that particular niche or the people. Okay. Now, however, the unintentional consequence is that the hiring decisions can be influenced by these sensitive data, leading to unconscious bias. For example, if an employer sees the candidate's age, let's suppose, okay, they may assume they lack modern tech skills. as you mentioned, like 45 years. Okay, he is old, maybe, or like 50 years old. They might not be tech savvy. Well, this is the bias then, all right? But I think the employers, they are clever, they are sharp, they know the hiring process, they know the recruitment process, and whatever they are doing, they're doing it in the right way, because they are following all the legalities, each and everything. So this is just the perspective from the job seeker. It's like, I'm putting my nationality, I'm putting my religion, I'm putting my age, I'm putting my marital information. It's going to lead to biasness. No. Employers, they comply with the laws, employer comply with the legalities. So you just fill out the form. If the fields are mandatory and you are not able to submit the information, go ahead and read the data privacy, go ahead and read the terms and conditions, which we never do so actually. Okay, so this is the time that we need to educate ourselves. Go ahead and read the terms and conditions. On the other side, if these fields are not mandatory and not essential, go ahead and don't put any information, because this is anyways optional. So even sometimes, like, gender field, it says male, female, or undisclosed. So you can just choose undisclosed as the option. Adnan, very important question, because job seekers sometimes they think, there are fake jobs in WhatsApp groups, on Telegram, across different social media platforms. And I think the job seekers, they need to be more responsible and accountable. They need to be in the hot seat rather than just blaming the portals or the social platforms, in my personal opinion, because they need to educate themselves and to find out which are the fake positions and which position they should not be applying for. But based on your expertise, how the job seekers can avoid fake job posting, how they can secure their data, and how they can evaluate the authenticity of a job post or the company.
That rightly said. As I can see that's a genuine concern. A lot of people come up asking the same thing, that why we have to enter our sensitive data, especially when we're talking about the email ID, as well as particularly if I talk about mobile numbers. Now, the thing is this, that a person should be smart enough in order to understand that where they are putting the data, how much legitimate is that portal or website where they are putting the data. Something, if it's very much well-known portal and they can see that they are requesting information, it means that that's the part of their hiring process and they need it maybe in order to contact you. So you do not have this option to say that, hey, no, I don't want to put my data, because you can sell it or you can reuse it for different purposes, right? So you have no option. But I genuinely understand that there are a lot of excellent portals on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn, I'm sure, is taking care of a lot of things, that the data which people are putting in there, that's rightly used for the purpose it is collected. But again, it comes the responsibility of the candidate to make sure that where they are inserting their data, what exactly that platform is.
Exactly. And Adnan, just to add, for example, LinkedIn newsfeed, I think, is in a way is like the information you are feeding to LinkedIn, the forms you are filling in, for example, the content you are following, actually, it will help you. You're going to see more and more jobs. But again, I completely agree with you. The way you have explained it is how to identify the fake jobs, fake companies, and whether or not you should be applying for.
Don't forget to hit follow on my LinkedIn for upcoming podcasts, and share this episode with your network to spread the word about fair hiring practices.
So in such a scenario where you have to reveal the information about your salary, Adnan, for example, on the job portal, and the field is mandatory, and you have to reveal it, and you can't lie, and you should not be lying, actually, promoting the fair hiring practices from the job seeker side and from the employer side. So in such a scenario where a very, very important concern about revealing the information, so how do you see this, disclosing, for example, if I would ask you the salary, for example, and what are your thoughts on it? And the field is mandatory.
I would say that it should be an honest process from the both parties, whether it's the candidate or it's the hiring manager or hiring party. It should be a transparent and honest process, as we request all the recruiters that they must disclose this information, that what is their salary slabs between this much and this much for this particular position. But in the same time, we ask candidates, it's fair if someone is asking you that what is your current salary and what is your salary expectations, you may put this, and it's the right of the hiring manager to understand. Look, the question is that why? Like someone is asking me that why I have to give my salary. The reason is not that they are interested or they are just trying to dig out what you are earning at this moment, but maybe they are more interested to understand the time they are going to spend to shortlist one person if he's going to accept the salary package which we are offering or not. For example, if you are earning already $20,000 and the next job is around $18,000 or $15,000, so putting your current salary, it will give them this thing that yes, this person is already earning higher. It doesn't mean that they will not call you or they will not ask you to come for the interview. Probably they will ask you and they will try to negotiate if you are talented enough and you are meeting all the requirements of the job. But this is the right of the recruiter.
This is
to
your
ask.
value, actually.
Exactly.
This is how you're being valued.
Share some success story of the companies which are asking a particular questions about specific genders, or to keep that, as you mentioned about the local, if they are Emiratis, there must be a certain percentage in organization of the locals. What are the positive outcomes? I'm sure that a lot of people feel that it's going to just impact the negative, and negative is or from disclosing this sensitive information. But do you think that there are somewhere some positive from the viewpoint of organization,
right,
that when they are asking this kind of sensitive information?
Well, Adnan, certainly. I mean, if you talk about the global and big, gigantic and massive companies, for example, like Google, Deloitte and Unilever, Nestle, for example, Adnan, for example, Imar, for example, all these big companies, they have implemented a fair hiring practice. I would say focusing more on the diversity and inclusion. Now, as a result, you would see that they have seen an increased employee satisfaction. You could go to Glassdoor, you can go to different online sites where you can read the reviews, you can go to their Facebook pages, for example, just to get an understanding that even if companies in general, if they are collecting the information about your, the information which you think is personal, but still the employer is collecting, certainly, Adnan, at the end of the day, you want to work for a multinational which is diverse. Okay, so you can learn more, you can upskill yourself, you enjoy more, and at the same time, we also write in our resume, on our profile, that I am culturally adaptable. So if you are culturally adaptable, then be open to expose, be open to tell people where do you come from, what are your skill sets, who actually you are. So you have to disclose your demographics. Now, again, I will go back to my point earlier, which I mentioned and I emphasized. If the employer is collecting this information, and if you have concern, go ahead and read the data privacy and the permissions. Okay. And just to add more on this, that diverse teams often bring, unique perspectives which can lead to innovative solutions at the end of the day and bring business outcomes. Now, Adnan, I have a quick question. Like, since you are also doing career advisory as well for the past many years, and you have been, I think, in Dubai for more than 10 years now. So congratulations on making a debut 10 years. Yeah. Now, as a career advisor, how do you guide, or how can you guide the job seekers in navigating this sensitive information in the job application process? And I think a lot of the listeners right now, they have this concern. Is like, okay, this is the personal information, this is the sensitive information, but how to navigate, how to handle the sensitive data? As a career advisor, what do you advise them?
Look, there is one thing that we are talking about continuously, that the recruitment process and the recruiters, they do ask this sensitive information from the people that tell us what is your date of birth, tell us that what is your religion and all these things, even the passport number and all this. But in the similar time, I have noticed this thing also, that candidates, they themselves put on their CV their ID card number, their date of birth, their religion, even their home address. And they think that that's okay for them. So, but that, honestly speaking, that's not necessary to put on the CVs. So as a career advisor, my role is to inform all the job seekers about their rights and guide them how to present their qualification without disclosing irrelevant personal data. I always encourage the candidates to emphasize on their skills, experience, and the achievements on their CV, on their LinkedIn profile, on the cover letter, or when they go for the interviews or with the speak with the potential employers,
All right.
so that they can showcase that what they can bring on the table and how they can add value to the organization, rather to just fill the space on their CV by putting all irrelevant information about their national ID card number, about their date of birth, about their passport number, which is not mandatory. So it's from the both sides. They have to be more conscious. Employer, only they should ask if it is really going to make a difference in the hiring process, as well as the candidate must disclose only at that time when it is going to make some difference, or when the employer is asking. Otherwise, just to fill the space on CV or on your LinkedIn, it's not mandatory.
Okay. Great perspective, I would say, and thank you for explaining this in very detail.
I want to put this last question, that what advice would you give to employers and the job seekers to foster a more inclusive and fair hiring landscape?
I knew that this was coming. All right, so I think when it comes to the advice to the employers and the job seekers, to foster a more inclusive and promoting a fair hiring practice, I think the employers should prioritize skills and qualifications over collecting irrelevant personal data and information during the hiring process, unless, as you mentioned, it's absolutely necessary. All right. For example, even when you're applying for a visa abroad, for example, let's say like I travel to Europe, and whenever I'm filling the application form, there are certain questions like, have you ever worked in certain departments? Okay. Have you ever been to so-and-so countries? So they are collecting this information for their own personal objectives, their own personal data, which is okay. So because I trust in those forms, I trust those authorities, that's why I'm disclosing this information. And because I needed to travel, so I have to disclose this information. Now, you should be confident while disclosing this information. Now, again, coming back to your point, from the employer side, I think they need to prioritize skills and qualification more over collecting the irrelevant information just for the sake of collecting gender, just for the sake of collecting, okay, where did you come from? As long as it's really absolutely necessary, go ahead. Otherwise, just leave it. Now, emphasize creating diverse teams and reflect different backgrounds, for example, in experiences. And the job seekers, from the job seekers' perspective, they should focus on presenting their abilities in the best possible light, in the best possible way, in the best possible manner, remembering that fair hiring benefits everyone out there in the job market landscape. And creating a diverse and talented workforce, obviously, that leads to a more innovative and successful organization. So from the employer side, focus more on the skill sets, focus more on collecting maybe the educational certification, trainings, kind of information. And even Adnan, let me tell you, before I conclude this, I have so much to offer, for example, but if the fields are not there, like from the employer perspective, if I'm filling out the job application form and the fields are limited, and I don't have open-ended questions where I should be given the opportunity to speak, to explain, to upload more documents, all right? How can I present myself? So whichever fields, whichever information is still, as a job seeker, you see on the portal, you see on the job application form, go ahead and use it to your advantage. Don't just run away. Don't just think that it's going to harm you. Don't just think that it's there for bias. It is not. The employers, they are following the laws. Employers, they are following the compliance, the legalities. So you should not be worried about revealing the information. Yes, two things. One thing is that you should focus more on researching the employer or the job portal where you are submitting the information. And if you have any questions, second thing is go ahead and read the data privacy and the terms and conditions, which, to be honest, we usually don't. Okay, while creating the form, there is a checkbox and we just say, yes, we accept. Yes, we accept. Next. And then come across this kind of concern that, revealing this information might be biased. So I think focus more on your skill sets, even if you are filling out the information, and just don't worry.
And that brings us to end of this thought-provoking episode of Now to Next. Thank you so much, Sohaib, for your valuable time and sharing valuable insights and expertise on fair hiring practices.
Thank you very much for your time as well, and coming up with this topic.
Follow Sohaib Hasan on LinkedIn and stay tuned for more inspiring discussion with industry leaders and experts. We have exciting content coming up that will definitely empower you in your career journey. Until the next episode of Now to Next, goodbye.